Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and this one right here is another one off that big old stack of older Gunpla that a lot of you people have been asking for in the past. Now this one right here, this one was just the fastest and the quickest to build out of the lot, so that's why I went for this one. This of course is the high-grade GN Archer from Gundam 00. This kit hails all the way back to 2009, so the exact same year as the Kshatriya, oddly enough. That means there is no English on the sides of the box, just a lot of pictures. But someone obviously bought this and sold it again because I got this from a shop called Suruga-ya, which is actually a big old shop in Akihabara specializing in recycled otaku goods. So yeah, they jacked up the price. So yeah, this is the price I finally did end up paying for this kit right here. So a little bit more expensive than its retail release, but it can be a little hard to come by. So if you're finding it hard to come by kits that you want, I got this kit right here from that shop that I mentioned through BUYEE. So if you do want some rare or hard to get kits of your own, I'll throw a link to BUYEE down there in the description. Now let's get right into it. So first off, there is absolutely everything that comes in the box, which is the high-grade GN Archer itself, a pair of weapons, and besides that, it's just a bunch of stuff for using with other kits. That is a stand adapter for using with the Arios, a couple of adapters for using its backpack with other kits, as well as using it with the Arios, and a final adapter for attaching it to an action base in its transformed mode. This kit is quite reliant on fairly large stickers for the metallic greens and the metallic red on the front of the kit, but we'll talk about all that, well, right now in the aesthetics. So now jumping right on into the aesthetics, and there is the high-grade GN Archer out of the box, snapped together with the stickers used and some panel lining here and there. And for the most part, this isn't a bad looking kit whatsoever. The only thing that I would say is a little bit on the weak side is those large big wing binders on the back. Those do look a little bit on the old school and cheap side. They've got big old seam lines completely up the length of them. They're very shiny. The plastic kind of has this kind of folding going on throughout it. That isn't anything unusual. Actually, this is quite normal. So as for a bit of a note on the build, this is a super simple build. It does require some stickers, especially on the weapons, the front of the torso, and the cockpit section of the backpack. Out of the box, it is extremely plain, so I did do a couple of minor modifications, including painting the eyes inside of the visor, because otherwise they do not show at all, and adding some panel lining here and there, just to give it a little bit of extra dimension. On the whole though, with a little bit of extra effort, it does look quite cool. Once again though, I do recommend closing up the seams, and I think some top coat would finish it off perfectly. And especially, mask those stickers so they don't look so stickery. So anyway, there's that full 360 spin, so you can see absolutely every angle of the high-grade GN Archer. And I'll also pop up the actual art of the GN Archer on the right so you can compare and contrast yourself, and the first thing that strikes me is the fact that the proportions are completely different. The actual GN Archer is more of a, well, shorter looking, bigger head, almost semi-super deformed looking mobile suit compared to what we're seeing here, which is much more elongated, more streamlined, and I guess a more serious looking mecha. That may or may not bother you. I personally prefer the actual high-grade design here. I think it looks pretty cool. But the second thing that really stands out to me about this is the fact that it is missing a lot of color separation. We're missing a lot of gray around on those binders, and the one thing that stands out the most, and I guess is really striking, is the fact that the collar on its neck is not in yellow. It's in gray, and there is no sticker included, so if you want this thing to be 100% color accurate, you're gonna have to grab your paints. Now moving on. So now moving on to the size comparisons, the GN Archer is a very, very small mobile suit, and there's an example of it side by side with your average size Gundam, the RX 78-2. Next up, we're gonna slide in Gundam 00 itself. This, of course, is the real grade, and kind of suffering a bit from ERS. Just, come on, just stand there, come on. Okay. Size compared. Next up then, an Iron-Blooded Orphans kit. This is Gundam Hejiroboshi. There is a 30-minute missions, also small, beside Earth 3, real grade unicorn, and the huge new Gundam HWS. And one of these days, whoa, one of these days, I am actually gonna build his wing. So as usual, jumping right on back to the start for the overview of everything in here. Now let's check out the accessories one by one. As for hands, all we get in here is those standard block hole holding hands. As for what those hands can hold on to, in here we've got the pair of GN beam rifles. These are just like flat planks. There is an example of what they look like attached, and these do rely on fairly hefty stickers around on the back, which seem to be peeling a little bit. That's not a good sign. So yeah, these are quite generic, just two pieces of grey plastic, a big old sticker, a big reflecty one. There is a quick look at the underside, and they just attach into the hands like this. Nothing really to see here, I guess. Of course, the rest of the weapons that GN Archer is holding on to are around here on the back. We've got GN missiles in these hard to notice little hatches here. If they were panel lined, you'd see them a lot more. And by flipping this up, these little segments right here, either side of the cockpit, those are GN Vulcans. So GN Archer does not come with a dedicated stand, but we do get this arm in here, which is for using with the stand that comes with the high-grade Arios. As we're displaying them like this right here, which always reminds me of that age-old meme drawing that someone made. I'll pop it up on the screen right now. So this is for displaying them like this right here. If you want to display them like this up here, well, and here we get this little adapter section here for attaching it into the butt of the Arios. Continuing on now with the adapters, this one we'll take a look at later because this is for using with the transformation. And as for this smaller one right here, and what that's for is for attaching onto the high-grade Gundam 00 like this. Or I guess any kit that has a one-hole backpack adapter attachment. Most kits have a double hole, so it may not fit, but as for how it attaches on, you just pop it off the butt flap of the GN Archer, slide that little adapter in, and then it is ready to plug in. So anyway, jumping on to that articulation, and as usual, from that head down. As for the build, I will pop these on midway through, but these are also quite simple and solid too. So anyway, here we go. The head is the classic polycap. There it is all the way up. There it is all the way down. Side to side, blocked somewhat by that collar. Minor giggity goo. The shoulder polycaps in there, those actually cannot move, so they're just fixed in position on this kit. What that gives us is the full 360 spin, a little bit of wiggle to the shoulder, the arm all the way up as far as there, full spin at that upper arm, single point elbow bend from there to there. We've got a double jointed wrist right here, which goes from there to there. Backpack just flips up on a hinge over the head for the transformation. Just a spin at the waist. The front skirting is attached by a polycap, but doesn't really give it anything, so, well, feels kinda pointless. Some basic ball joint hips in here, which gives us a kick up to the front, not bad. Out to the back, also awesome. And that hip armor does block the outward motion a little bit. These pieces, if I remove that, do we get any more? A little, not a whole lot. The knee bend can go from all the way up there to all the way like that. That's a transforming leg if ever I saw one. To all the way back like this, so it is a 2-point decent bend. Finally, let's check out what the legs can do on the ground. There it is all the way to the front. The back is quite impressive because of this cut out slot here, so it can go all the way like that. Actually can kind of compress in like that. That's probably part of the transformation. And finally, we've got that side to side pivot, which is okay, not great. Next up then, we've got those big old binders. This right here is a polycap joint hinge with rotation, and the upper joint then is a ball joint, also rocking that rotation. Let's pop that back on and check out the transformation. The transformation of this kit is extremely simple. Just pop up that nose section, twist around the arms, pop the guns back in if you took them out, point down the feet, bend up the legs, bring down the binders, and you're done. Anyway, there's that flight form, and once again, as usual with this kind of flight form, from above it looks okay, from below it looks a little bit, well, not really as bad as I was expecting. It is a little ridiculous that you can see the face, but actually it compacts up quite well. That looks way better than I was expecting. Yeah, that's a decent flight form. But anyway, that right there is it for the review, and as you'd probably expect with all the issues we've seen throughout this review, that this is a bronze tier gunpla. A bronze tier gunpla still means it's quite a good model kit, just not great by gunpla standards. And it's kind of funny because this is from the same year as the Kshatriya we just looked at yesterday? The day before? And you can see that Bandai does give priority to certain series over other series, and UC always comes first. I've always found that there was some issues with a lot of the older 00 kits, and this has a lot of them. The color separation is not great, there are seam lines everywhere. The nubs can be quite bad too because the gates that attach this to the runner are quite large in a lot of places, and the wing binders are made out of huge pieces that don't look that great. But hey, grab a paintbrush, some paint, panel line it, top coat it, and it will still look fantastic. Just out of box, it is a little bit lacking. But still, there's not many model kits that kind of have this awesome aesthetic. It's small, unique, and unlike anything else. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time.